Now, for someone whose life was lived under the constant glare of publicity, the Duke of Edinburgh was a man who put duty before all else, whose wry personality was never kept hidden away. He was unfailingly polite, if not always politically correct. One man who had to deal with him and with the harsh glare of media attention on royals was Charles Anson, who spent 6 years as press secretary at Buckingham Palace. I've been speaking with him, and I began by asking him what sort of a consort the Duke had been.
He was, I think, a superb consort because he was so different, and I think they made a tremendous team together. Clearly, the Queen, as she said on their golden wedding anniversary, my stay and support all these years, it was a very close relationship, but it was a wonderful team together, I always thought. And you saw it very well on a walkabout. I mean, the Queen, obviously, as monarch, slightly more formal than Prince Philip. Prince Philip picking up the children from behind the rails, taking them over to give their poses to the Queen, and very jokey with the crowd. Equally, you know, if it was on a regional visit around Britain, walking into a vast factory when suddenly everybody falls silent. And the Queen, as monarch, of course, is not about to make a joke, but Prince Philip would always break the ice with some remark, or, you know, go and talk to a group of factory workers and josh around with them a little bit, and it made the atmosphere work very well. And I think, you know, his private advice to the Queen was always sought by her. He was very careful always to stay out of any constitutional matters. Those were entirely for the Queen. But I think the way they worked together and the contrast of their personalities was a superb mix.
There's no manual for a consort, or indeed really even the monarch, to sort out exactly how they should be. And one wonders, given that she had so many years to practice the trade, and as did he, what it's going to be like for anybody succeeding her.
Well, I think, you know, what Prince Philip did, I always think he's a bit like Prince Albert, Queen Victoria's husband. He's a polymath. He's a man of, you know, many different parts, and he was both an outstanding consort to the Queen. Had he remained in the Navy, he probably would have become First Sea Lord. He was a very capable naval officer. And then he had all these interests in the Duke of Edinburgh's award scheme, in the environment, in young people, in saving playing fields in urban communities. I mean, a whole range of things, to say nothing of science and ideas and faith.
But he'd be the first person to say he wasn't perfect. And I wondered, you know, particularly when you were press secretary, did you ever say anything which worried you? I mean, for example, that extraordinary comment about the Chinese, slitty-eyed.
Well, I think, you know, during my watch, there were often what were called Prince Philip's gaffes. And of course, they were meat and drink to the British press. It made a fantastic headline, slitty eyes, or I remember in Hungary, he said to somebody, look, you look very well fed, because he had some huge paunch, and this was regarded as being rather offensive. But actually the Hungarian chap of whom he said it said afterwards, said, look, you know, having a big stomach is a sign of success and of contentment in our society. So he paid me a compliment. And the same was true of the slitty eyes remark. That looked like it might derail the first visit by a British monarch to China at an extraordinarily important time. And of course the royal household and the delegation you know, made their apologies quietly and privately to the Chinese for any misunderstanding this remark might have caused. And there was no reaction whatsoever. None at all. I mean, the visit just went on according to plan with nothing said at all.
Do you think part of the secret of their relationship was that they actually did quite a lot of things, you know, that interested them on their own? Was it the space they had between them that perhaps made it all work?
I think space in a marriage is very important, and I think that on such a long and successful marriage, of course, you work out ways in which you do things together, and the interests that you follow on your own, and I think that's absolutely true of the Queen and Prince Philip. They both had interest in horses, but in different aspects of the horse, and dogs and country life and so on. So I think that partnership worked extremely well. And I think, you know, in a modern monarchy, it is a team effort. It's much easier to do it in partnership. And I think you see that in the succeeding generations as well. I think with Prince Charles and the Duchess of Cornwall, they have lots of interests of their own, but they do quite a lot together. The same is evident with Prince William and Duchess of Cambridge. They have different interests. But I think in the sort of global fishbowl that people live in these days, leaders are going to be constantly in the public eye. And in their private time, they're going to do things together and they're going to do things on their own.